I know I'm proud to be a woman. Being a woman to me, it means a lot of things. I mean, what's the first word you think of when you think of a woman? Some people think of nurturer, some people think of multitasker. Yeah, see you, girl. I know you are. You are all woman. There's women and then there's Wonder Woman. You it, girl. Awesome. But yeah, sometimes people think of nurturer, multitasker, but there's also leader, trailblazer. We could do it all. And that's why I'm so proud. Like I think of Beyonce's song, Girls, we run the world. Girls, we run the world. And my favorite line is, I can bear the children and get back to business. Welcome to Journey to Joy Live. I'm your host, Dr. Enjoy. And it is week 37, and we're going to talk about mental health and women's history because March is Women's History Month. And as you know, Journey to Joy Live is a podcast catered to increasing awareness about mental health, breaking down that stigma, and promoting mental health, wellness, and joy. Because why not? I think we all can experience joy. Despite trauma, despite obstacles, despite stress, despite loss and grief, despite whatever the heck is going out there that's trying to rob you from your joy, you can experience it. I hope you enjoyed last week. Episode 36 was kicking out the stigma, finding joy in the game. I had my brother-in-law, Kenny Mena, who came on. He said, when are you going to have me on your podcast? I said, I've been waiting for you to ask that. And he came on and he talked about his experience with anxiety and schizophrenia and what's that's been like. It's been a battle, but he is finding joy. He is on his journey to joy because it is a journey, right? It doesn't mean you're going to experience joy 100% of the time, but as long as you're on that journey, striving towards it, you can get there. And I thank him so much for his transparency and bravery for being able to talk about that, because that is how we can break down the stigma of mental health. Thinking about mental health or mental illness is talking about it. It's uncomfortable, but we have to get comfortable talking about uncomfortable subjects. So that's why I'm here every Thursday, whether it's pre-recorded or live, because we got to get comfortable talking about these uncomfortable subjects so we can break this cycle of stigma. Same way we can talk about easily, I have a headache, I'm tired. We should easily be able to say, I'm depressed. I'm hearing voices again. Let me go get help, right? It's a part of life. Let's talk about it. Let's be about it. Because if we don't talk about it and we don't allow people to have that comfortable space to be able to talk about it without being judged, then that means that creates opportunity for them to continue to spiral down in their mental illness space. And that's when you lead to those severe consequences that I talked about a couple weeks ago, whether that's suicide or suicide attempts or breakdowns and things like that. So let's talk about it, create that healthy space, that safe space for people, your loved ones. You start talking about things, find someone that you trust so that you can make it comfortable to talk about, even though it's uncomfortable. So we gonna decrease this stigma. That's what we gonna do. So anyhow, March is Women's History Month. So that can go in a lot of directions, honestly. I mean, I looked up different things that I can talk about as far as history of mental health when it comes to women's history. If you on here listening, think about what you are proud of. If you're a woman, are you proud to be a woman? Are you proud to be a woman? I know I'm proud to be a woman. Being a woman to me, it means a lot of things. I mean, what's the first word you think of when you think of a woman? Sometimes people think of nurturer, multitasker, but there's also leader, trailblazer. We could do it all. And that's why I'm so proud. Like I think of Beyonce's song, Girls, we run the world. Girls, we run the world. And my favorite line is, I can bear the children and get back to business. And that's just how it feels. That's how it feels. People say because I have 3 boys, everybody knows that. Well, not everybody, but most people who know me know I have 3 boys. But they say, are you working? Did you go back to work? I'm like, of course I went back to work because I can bear the children and get back to business. That's what I did. In fact, After having Egypt, my last baby boy, that's when I started the business. That's when I started podcasting, starting the private practice. I'm just like, I got this. So I guess I feel like I'm done having the kids. So I'm just like, now it's time to better myself. But a lot of women, they are having kids and doing their business and doing their things. And it's just amazing. But guess what? Not every woman can have a kid. So therefore, nurturer and having a baby does not define you as a woman. That's why we talk about the trailblazer, leadership, professional, the daughter, the sister, the friend, the multitasker. You are everything else. So just because if you cannot have children or bear children, that doesn't define you as a woman. So from being cisgender to being transgender to being no gender, we're going to be proud to be women. And if you don't know what cisgender is, that's someone who has been born with the female genitalia, but continue to live like a female. I'm cisgender. For those who are transgender, they are male to female. So they're living like a woman. So if you're a transgender female, I hope you are proud to be a woman. If you are male transgender, you started out as a female and then to male, be proud of your body in general, right? Maybe you're not using it for what women use it for, but your body is there to get you through life anyway. You're using it to walk, you're using it to eat, you're using it to do your work, to sleep. It's still a vehicle for you, right? So let's be proud. You might be living as a male now, and you might still have some type of genitalia that tells you were born as a female, and it might put you down in some kind of way if you're dealing with gender dysphoria. Like I said, think of it in a different way outside of what it looks like and what it's supposed to do sexually. Think about what else your body is doing for you and be proud of that because your body's doing something. It's doing something. I talk a lot about positivity and thinking, being grateful for things. I know that sounds like, oh, am I going to be grateful? But think of something that your body's doing and be grateful for it. Thank you, Denise. She said, we're doing it. We're balancing marriage, family, career, having self-care, and just being our amazing selves. Yeah, self-care. In fact, I ran a 5K before this. So it feels good. And it feels good when you're thinking about all aspects of your journey. You know, being a woman, you got to juggle, like she said, you got to juggle families, you got to be there for your kids, you got to juggle the finances. I mean, if you are the breadwinner, even if you aren't the breadwinner, you're still bringing home income if you are working. If you're not working, more power to you because I feel like that takes way more patience when you are working, not working at home, but stay at home mom, stay at home wife. However, that's amazing. You have way more patience. And I'm going to talk about parenting at some point because parenting really, really works your nerves, and you need all the patience in the world for that. Whew, can we just have a moment of silence for all the parents out there? That's coming. That's coming. Woo-sigh. All right. So, women's history. I mean, I could talk about my own history, to be honest. Like I said, I can go in different directions with that. I love being a woman. I love who I am. And, it's been a long journey. I'm a psychiatrist currently. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm a chief medical officer. I'm a runner. I'm a traveler. And it feels good. It's taken time to get to this point. I was 5 when I wanted to be a doctor. What I remember is that I got hit by a car at 5. I don't know why I'm smiling about that. For some reason, that's like, it always tickles me when I tell somebody like, yeah, I got hit by a car at 5. But anyhow, that was my first introduction to being a professional in the field, being in the health field, being and seeing women actually do things in the health field. I've had that exposure within my family. Luckily, I've have doctors in my family. I've had my mom to look up to who worked hard. She was in the real estate business for 30 years. So I've have her to look up to, and I'm proud of her. And she's always supported me. I feel like she's my number one woman fan, that's for sure. So I thank her as a woman. I've always looked up to, and I was gonna look up her name before coming live. I can't remember her name, but she was probably the first Black female astronaut. She was a someone that I aspired to be like growing up as well. Although I wanted to be a doctor at the age of 5, I also wanted to be an astronaut. In fact, I wanted to do both. So there was just something in me where I was just like, yeah, I can be an astronaut and a doctor. I mean, there was at some point where I was like, okay, you need to do physics and you need to be real good at physics in order to be a doctor. So, I mean, in order to be an astronaut, well, and to be a doctor, but in order to be an astronaut. So I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to become a doctor. So, anyway, it was a journey for me. I thought I was just going to ace my way. I was get right into medical school because I had all A's in high school. And then when I graduated and went to college, ooh, rude awakening. What's a D? Now I know what a D is because I got a D in biology. My major was biopsychology. I got a D in biopsychology. I was like, I can't have a D in my major. So I decided to change my major to psychology. So it got hard. It's nice that I was able to have my role models that I looked up to. So that kept me aspiring and kept me going. And whatever field you're in, it doesn't have to be medical field. Have a mentor, have a role model, have someone that you look up to in that field that you want to go to. Or if you don't know anybody in that field, some type of successful woman that you look up to has been successful doing what she's doing, get with her, ask her questions. How are you doing what you're doing? That drive and that persistence that I had, it was also from God too. I'm very spiritual. And there were times where I really wanted to give up. And in undergrad, I eventually had a 1.9 GPA. I was like, I can't be no doctor. I have a 1.9 GPA. So I didn't drop out of school. I stayed in college, but I pretty much dropped out of being pre-med. But I pretty much was like, I'm not pre-med. I even told myself, I've told this story at least in a smaller capacity before, but I even told myself I was stupid. I said, I can't do this. I'm too stupid. You know, I was surrounded by white men in the classrooms. I'm like, well, med school is for them. It's not for me. I'm a Black female. Why should I be able to go to med school? Right. And then God literally spoke to me. Isaiah Petway, I'll say his name. He knows it. I've thanked him. He was in the gospel chorale and he was a prophet. And he literally prophesied to me and said, Nina, you are going to medical school. You are going to travel the world. You are going to be an amazing physician. And I remember that to this day. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but God told me through him that I was going to do it. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm so glad I didn't give up. And so, yeah, I didn't. Eventually I said, well, let me take some more science classes. I mean, I can do this. I did graduate undergrad, didn't take that MCAT, the medical college admissions test. Didn't take it yet, but I took that bad boy 3 times before getting into medical school and was ready to take it a 4th time if I had to. But that's my story. And as I think of women's history and thinking of role models and leadership and just striving, because as women, you know, we had it tough back in the day. Like, for real, for real. We were suppressed. I mean, for Black history, we all know I talked about all that, the Black suppression and all that. But women, we were suppressed too. So when you think about being a Black female, it's real hard, and you can really accept that oppression and stress and defeat and tell yourself you just can't do it. It's only for a white man to be a doctor. It's only for a white man to be a lawyer. You can tell yourself those things. Or despite that, you can tell yourself, I can do this. I can be the first Black female doing so and so. And it's interesting because in this day and age, there's actually stuff still out there where you actually can be the first Black female doing that thing. Which reminds me, another role model I had was Alexa Kennedy. She was the first Black female neurosurgeon. And I actually got a chance to meet her because she's from Michigan. Yeah. She was in Lansing and I had her speak at like certain events that I had there. But yeah, she was a great role model that I've had. As we forged away through being a woman and being able to do things, it's definitely important to highlight certain females that have helped us get that far. But we're celebrating and honoring these contributions, achievements, and experiences throughout women's history, which gives us an opportunity to recognize the often overlooked and marginalized roles that women have played in shaping societies, cultures, economics, and institutions. Because there are certain eras or places or cultures or whatever where women are still suppressed, unfortunately. Like when you think of gender roles, I know in my marriage, and I definitely mentioned that before, our gender roles are very much switched in a lot of different ways. I look up to him in every capacity. He looks up to me, but there are certain things where, like for instance, being the handyman, I'm technically that handy woman of the relationship. Usually you think of the man that's doing that, but my dad was handyman, so he taught me everything. And my husband's father wasn't a handyman, so he didn't teach him stuff like that. He taught him to hire people. So, and that's okay. But anyhow, just stepping out above those marginalized roles, you can do it. You can do it. So, Women's History Month aims to raise awareness about these struggles and accomplishments of women from diverse backgrounds to promote gender equality and empowerment. So, let's acknowledge that. Let's be happy, be proud to be a woman, whether you're transgender or cisgender, or you got the parts. Be proud of some aspect of your body because your body is helping you get through this life. Women's History Month serves as a platform for highlighting these ongoing challenges that we might face. And we've got advocates for us throughout the years. So going back, I mean, in the 1800s, we've had Dorothea Dix, who advocated for better treatment of the mentally ill. So now we're getting into women's mental illness in women's history. And let me actually back up a little bit, because actually what I found in the 19th century, when we talk about women's history and mental health, there was this whole, so hysteria was a real common diagnosis. Like if a woman acted a certain way, yeah, if they acted a certain way that was out of the norm, they were pretty much diagnosed with hysteria. Hysteria. That's actually nowhere in the DSM at this point. So yeah, that's real old, so that we were just treated as, oh, she's susceptible to mental illness due to her reproductive organs. She's got hysteria. And it pretty much reinforced the idea that we're limited by our roles as women or what society allowed us to be. So that's interesting. But in recent times, studies highlight that gender disparities in mental health, such as depression, is actually twice as common in women than men. And statistics show that this could be influenced by biological or the life cycle, hormonal, psychosocial factors. There are factors like that that do play a role in causing increased depression or increased mood or increased likelihood to personality disorder or bipolar. But in this day and age, it's less likely to be stigmatized against, oh, she a woman, so she doing this. Oh, she on her period, so that's why. But I mean, we do have our hormones. I'm not going to knock that. But yeah, we're kind of evolving our understandings and our perception of women's mental health, and that over time it's changed and it's improved. But anyhow, so going back to Dorothea Dix. Now, she was a part of the 1900s or 1800s, 19th century, and she advocated for the better treatment of mentally ill and she founded or expanded over 30 hospitals for women's care for mental illness. So that is amazing. She also served as a superintendent of army nurses during the Civil War. Yeah, amazing. I mean, I'm telling you, I learned a lot doing this podcast because I do research so I can teach y'all stuff. And I'm like, that is so cool. Mary Calkin, somebody else in the 19th going into the 20th century, she overcame obstacles to pursue an academic career in psychology, becoming the first woman to lead a psychology laboratory, Wellesley College, and the first female president of the American Psychological Association. Okay. And let me stop there. Another role model, current right now, Tammy Benton. She is the president of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatrists right now. She's a Black female. So that is amazing. So we are just forging our ways. So a little bit after Mary Calkins, there was Mamie Clark. She was the first African American woman to earn a PhD in psychology in the United States. So her research on child development and racial trauma contributed to desegregation efforts, particularly in schools. So her lifespan was from 1917 to 1983. So she died the year I was born. This means it was time for me to take over. Oh man, I'm so funny. It's not being cocky, it's being confident. It's nice to be confident. And that's the thing, right? Let your light shine. Do your thing. Brag. Be proud of what you do. That doesn't make you cocky. It makes your mental health well, right? And it makes other people want to do the same. Martha Burno, her lifespan 1931 to 2001, the first Latina to earn a doctorate in psychology in the US. And she advanced the study of ethnic minority psychology and helped establish interventions for child treatment and multicultural psychology. Okay. Then we have E. Kitch Childs, advocated for the marginalized communities, founding the Association of Women in Psychology and contributing to feminist therapy. She was also a prominent LGBTQ plus activist and therapist. And then lastly, I talked about Bimi Moore Campbell during mental health and Black history. And her lifespan, 1950 to 2006. She's was a national advocate for mental health in Black community, the co-founder of the Inglewood, LA chapter of the National Alliance of Mental Illness, and wrote several books addressing the impact of racism in mental health. So we got a lot of rock stars out here in women's health, and particularly in mental health in women's history. So be proud of who you are. Think about it. It's Women's History Month. Why am I proud of who I am? And if I'm not proud, why am I not proud? What can make me proud? And when it comes to joy and living your life and doing your thing, there's a few different tenets or pillars, whatever you want to call it, where you can think of, why am I not experiencing joy? Is it because I'm financially unwell? Is it because I'm mentally unwell? Is it because my relationships aren't unwell? I call that social health. Is my social health not well? Or is it because my physical health is unwell? So think about those things where you're thinking about your joy and why you might not be proud to be who you are. What is it that could have improvement? In mental health, we also consider our emotional health, our thought health. I talk a lot about what we think about, reframing our thoughts and being more positive and having gratitude. So if you're wondering why I'm over here smiling, it's because I choose joy. And choosing joy doesn't mean you feel happy all the time. And that gratefulness helps you experience that joy. So anyway, that's my journey to being a doctor. I'm sure there's details that I still have left out, but it's not always easy. And like I said before, my favorite quote, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. It's the hard that makes it great. That's from The League of Their Own. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, whether you're watching now live or whether you're going to watch or listen later. I'm everywhere now. I post this to Instagram, dr.enjoy.life, as well as YouTube, Dr. Enjoy Life MD, as well as on my website, drenjoylife.com. And I do the podcast audio version on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple. I'm everywhere. So find it, share it, like it, follow, subscribe, because we're trying to break down this stigma and increase awareness and promote joy. Thank you. See you next week.